All right. So without any further ado, here comes the TE30. So we talked about it in our last video, the 5 steps for investing. So just as a quick recap and a reminder, step 1 is the Goldilocks amount, right? Depending on the money that you are about to invest, 30 may be too much. I like 30. I think it gets me wide enough on the diversification, but it's tight enough where I really have to pick the stocks that I like. So TE30, I have 30 stocks. However many stocks you choose, half of them in dividend stocks, half of them in growth stocks. So I've got 15 dividend stocks, I got 15 growth stocks. Then it's stay in your lane. Don't invest in anything that's not in your TE30. If you like something enough, you got to like it enough to kick one of your TE30 out. That will be a really cool, like, governor, if you will, to make sure that you just don't go chasing. Stay in your lane, do what you got to do. And then number 4, right, is put 75% of your money, 75 cents on the dollar, into your TE30, and you just put the money in there and leave it alone. Let those stocks go do their thing. Let all their employees go to work for you. Let them pay their dividends, whatever it is, leave it alone. You're long. 75 cents on the dollar, you need to be long on and chill out. The other 25%, this is where we're short. We don't invest in anything outside of our TE30. What we do is we make investments through the changes of the market, right? News comes out about COVID or Afghanistan, and or they do their quarterly returns. For example, Amazon missed their quarterly number by 0.5%, and their stock dropped 10% in a matter of like 3 weeks. Those are opportunities, right, to win in those short-term, kind of adjustments that inevitably happen in kind of publicly traded companies. So 25 cents on the dollar, we utilize from a short. And then lastly, the platform. Pick your platform as you like it, but here we go into step 4. This is where we spend our 75 cents on the dollar and our 25 cents on the dollar. So I'm going to show you my TE30. In later videos, I'm going to go into detail on each one, kind of why I like those companies, answer kind of any questions that might come up about that. Feel free to ask. You may pick some other organizations. You may think they're bigger winners, and maybe you just stick to kind of this model of the 75 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar, by all means. However, if you just want to ride for the game, these are your decisions, your risk, your reward. I'm going to give you my 30, and then I'm going to be doing videos every time I do a short-term sell, which is then followed up immediately by a short-term buy. So I've got 30 companies that I'm long on. I look for 10 short-term positions within those 30. I typically range around 10. Maybe I'll get to an 11 or a 9 if I don't see a great opportunity, if there's just too many good opportunities, but 10's the number. 30 positions for my long term, and then I look at within those 30 companies and I create 10 short-term positions. The minute one of them hits 2%, it automatically sells. Then I utilize those funds to then go buy another short-term position in one of the 30. So I'll go through some governing rules in that regard, but let me first just show you my TE30. I'll show you my 30, and then I'm going to show you the 10 positions that I've currently got. So like I said, no thrills, no frills. It's just about making money. So these ain't pretty. I get that. But take a look and feel free to take a screenshot if right now you want to kind of move some of your investment portfolio to align to the TE30 so that then you can participate in kind of the short-term position videos and things of that nature. Here they are. Your dividend stocks, the 15 that I've got, right? Apple, AbbVie, APD, this is all piping, gas-oriented, AVGO. I love anything chip oriented right now. Technology is a big play. Very big. Chevron, EPD, the pipes, HD, Home Depot, love them. JP Morgan, Microsoft, NVIDIA. This is a realtor company out of New York. They pay a monthly dividend. Doesn't happen a lot. Most people pay quarterly dividends, but they'll give you a monthly dividend, and it's not a bad dividend price. Again, I'm gonna get into more of these in greater detail in time, but And then Pfizer with everything COVID and related, such a big opportunity with the vaccinations. You'll see Pfizer there, and they pay a dividend, which is great. Valero, I'm a Texas boy. That's my gas. I love their dividends. My kids actually invest along with me. So each one of my kids have their own brokerage firm, brokerage account, and they make their own investments. They all have Valero. And so when we get gas, we always go to Valero. And it's really fun to hear like an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old be like, oh, we got to go to Valero. That's going to help my stock. And they're getting the concept of it, which I think is great. So picking some companies that you shop at or that you utilize frequently also can allow you to, pull this into your daily lives and maybe even into your kids and things of that nature. So you've got Walmart and then Exxon. And then from a growth stock, so these are dividend stocks. These are the ones that pay either quarterly or monthly dividends. They're going to give you free money, which I like them. So any growth they can create along with the free money is gravy. From a growth stock standpoint, these, again, non-dividend, we really want top line growth. We want their money going into acquisitions or reinvesting back into the company to create, kind of revenue growth. But AMD, Amazon, Coin, I'm not really into crypto by any means. I like Coin as a way of, if you will, being on the outskirts of crypto, but they're a little bit of it, in my opinion, a much safer play because they're going to make money whether crypto's doing good or bad, right? They're going to make money on transactions. So if crypto's doing really well, a lot of people are buying in, they're making more money. Crypto's doing bad, a lot of people are selling their wins, they're going to be making money. So I like Coinbase in that regard. Facebook, I don't even utilize Facebook. I think there's pros and cons. Social media is not, I'm not a big fan of social media personally. However, everybody has either Facebook or Instagram. These are big players in the market. I think Facebook's a good play in that regard. But Google, Robinhood, like I said, I don't even use the platform Robinhood, but what they've done in the overall market, there's a lot of players out there, a lot of people that are getting into investing like the Robinhood. The reporting is not as strong. They might not have customer service. Some people don't need customer service in their lives, or maybe they're not investing enough to make certain things a priority, like reporting. Robinhood, I think, is great. And I think they're also just a leading edge, type of organization that's disrupting the brokerage and the investing type of world. HubSpot, we're a Salesforce, HubSpot kind of an organization. Love Salesforce. They're a little bit deeper into their own growth, whereas HubSpot, I think, is consuming a lot of market share very quickly. Moderna, again, back to the COVID and the vaccinations, Roblox, Roku, Sophie, everything from, I love FinTech, Square, again, FinTech, Tesla, Upstart, FinTech, and Zoom. So that's mine. I'm going to go through each one of these in different videos and just talk about why I like these companies or why they're there. But again, if I ever like something else a little better, I talked about Carvana in my last video. Of Carvana, I like eventually more than Upstart. Carvana's in, Upstart's out. So you got to be willing to make those kind of moves. However, this shouldn't be something where you're making moves consistently. You should really look at what you're doing. So step one, 75% of your money goes to these 30 positions. Keep them in there long. Don't mess with them. They go down a couple, they go up a couple, right? You're going to work with short-term, if you will, emotional matters by making short-term positions within these accounts. Your long-term shouldn't be driven by emotion. It should be driven by P&Ls. It should be driven by the finances, the health of the companies. And so if they've got little wiggles, throughout the process, you have your 25% for short-term positions to deal with those wiggles. In this case, right, we believe in them in the long term. We're going to hold these 5, 10, 15, 20 years and allow it to really build upon our wealth. So 75% of your money, do not touch that 75%, these 30, unless you're just kicking somebody out, which I'll kick one out, give or take every year. Sometimes somebody goes public, a company changes their business model, things of that nature where I really like them. Most of the time I don't kick someone out because I stop liking them. Most of the time I kick somebody out because I've just started liking somebody else. Better companies always do come along, so keep an eye on it. That's the TE30. That's where 75% of all my dollars go into those 30 accounts. The other 25% is all about short-term, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. The short-term positions that you take are not or should not be outside of your 30. If you believe in these companies long enough to be long on them, you also believe in them enough to bet against the market when the market, in your opinion, either reacts or, in my opinion, overreacts to a given situation. I mentioned like Amazon, where they missed their number on a quarterly return by 0.5% of just their projection number, right? Like they still grew, the numbers looked better, they're great, they're going in the right direction. They miss it by 0.5% and then they drop by 10%. That for me is an overreaction, right? Like the stock market in the short term is a voting machine, and the long term it's a weighing machine. Voting machine just means emotionally people are going to vote on it and it's going to go up or it's going to go down. Long term, it's a weighing machine. It's your P&Ls matter. What do you do with your profits? How are your leadership, working towards the growth of your organization? That long-term weighing machine. I believe in these 30 from a long-term perspective. And so I'm going to keep them there. And then for the short term, I utilize these positions essentially to bet against the market when they're trying to bet against my companies. It's like, hey, market, don't be betting against my 30, right? And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I believe you're wrong, right? And so when any one of these 30 dip in a given time frame by 2% or more, I utilize that as a trigger moment to make a short-term position on that account. So these are the short-term positions that I currently have. Like I said, I try to keep 10, 1/3 of the TE30 in a perfect linear kind of a situation is in short-term positions. Sometimes I do double up a position on a short term if somebody's getting beaten up, but I make a rule, no more than 2 positions in a single stock, right? You don't want to catch a falling knife and you keep thinking, well, they're getting beat up, I'm going to buy another one and then ride it up, and it keeps getting beat up. Sometimes you just got to like recognize you probably bought the dip a little bit too early and you just got to ride this one out. Don't get yourself, over your skis and too deep into any one stock. So you already have long-term positions in them over here on the long term with the majority of your money. In the short term, here are my positions. As a reminder, 25% of your money, whatever you're investing, 25% of your money should be allocated towards short-term positions. I like having 10 out of 10 and then 30 in the long term, and that helps me in a very clean way keep my money balanced, right? I put in $1,000, 250 goes to short-term positions, 750 goes to long-term positions, and just kind of work my way from there. When you grow the overall amount that you're investing, then you can actually grow the overall amount that you're putting into your short-term position. Right now, if you have 10 short-term positions, you may only be able to afford, if you had $40,000 in total, 25% went to your short-term positions, then $10,000 went there. You've got 10 short-term positions, it's $1,000 each. Now, 2% of $1,000 is $20. That doesn't sound like a lot. And again, remind you, it's Joey Kanish. We're not shooting for the moon. This month alone, right, I've bought a total of 40 positions and have sold 30 positions. So 30 positions have sold because they've hit their 2%. These are the remaining 10 that I'm just waiting for them to hit the 2% and then eventually backfill it. So if you can make $20 each 2% sell, or even $10, but you can do 30 a month, right? 20 times 30 is $600. $600 can either go to cover some of your expenses, from a family standpoint if you ever need. But in truth, what we want to do is try to reinvest this back in. We want to increase over a period of 6-12 months what we can put into our short-term position. The more we can invest in there, obviously, the bigger the 2% is by way of just dollar value. But don't underestimate what $20 can do when you rinse and repeat it 15 to 30 times a month. You rinse and repeat that enough over a period of a year, you could be making $7,000 in your short-term positions on $20 at a time. So the short-term positions, again, they're not about shooting for the moon. They're about, winning your nickels and dimes, hitting your singles one step at a time, and slowly over a period of time, building your wealth. This channel is not dedicated to trying to find a lottery ticket. If you can find a lottery ticket, you're awesome. Like, great. I'm really happy for you. I ain't hating, right? The idea is I don't win lottery tickets. It's not what I'm hoping for, and it's also what I've never accomplished. I've never accomplished that concept. I don't put my money into that kind of concept. I hit singles. I slowly and incrementally build my wealth over time. Looking at 30 companies, putting 3/4 of my money into them long-term, and then 1/4 I'm utilizing to take advantage of short-term, emotional voting, by the market. So these are my 10, 25% of your money there, 2% of return is what you set the limit price. So when I buy, I just buy it at market, right? When it triggers a sell, what I do is I'll buy it and then I put in a sell order. I don't sell it at market. I sell it at a limit price, and I essentially just do 2% over the buy price. And then I set it the limit time frame for 60 days. So it has 60 days to hit 2%. If after 60 days it still hasn't hit 2%, I may assess whether I'm just going to sell it at a little bit of a loss, or maybe a little bit under 2% of a gain, just to be able to, essentially take that money and put it into, one of the other positions that might be able to, benefit more quickly and hit their 2%, much sooner. So 60 days is for me, as long as I want to hold up a short-term position. And then I just really kind of assess whether I want to sell at a loss, sell it at a diminished return, or potentially, in rare occasions, just keep it there. Most of the time, these don't last 60 days. As you can imagine, 2% is not a lot to ask for some of these companies. And so most of the positions that we buy and then eventually, sell, they're going to last 24 hours. They're going to last 48 hours. They're going to last maybe a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But out of the 30 that have already sold, the average tenure is 3 days. So we've sold 30 of them. I personally, again, over a period of time, I've been able to build up my short stack and into something bigger, and eventually even into a big stack. And so, for my short positions and making 2%, obviously 2% is going to mean a lot more when you've put more into the investment. But it doesn't matter, $20 at a time, or $100 at a time, or $1,000 at a time. If you can do it 30 times in a month, over time, you can really begin to accrue, good income from this. And then the last thing that I would say from a long-term and a short-term position is just to let you know from a communication standpoint, when one of these sells, so I'll give you an example, Zoom, for example, hits 369.75. My watch beeps and it says, you sold Zoom, 369.75. Again, a software did it. I didn't do it. I just set the price for it. Once it sells, all that money goes back into my account. Then I look at the sum that I want to invest in my next position, whatever sum I'm doing. So these 10 positions, if I've put $500 in each one of these 10 positions, or if I've put $50,000 in each one of these positions, I then take my winnings and leave it in my account just to accrue money over time. And then I take the 1,000 or the 5,000 or the 50,000, and I go look for the stock at that time that's been deemed in the short term based on, kind of the voting, if you will, or the emotional responses of the market. Buy $50,000 of that stock or $5,000 of that stock, put it into a limit for 60 days at a 2% increase, and wait for my watch to beep again. So I'm going to start posting these next week. You see my current positions. When one of these positions hits the number, you're going to see a video hit YouTube, and it's going to say, here's the position that just sold. I just made my 2%, and then I utilized those funds to go buy another short position with this at this price. If at that moment you want to either just kind of take this principle and embed it in what you're doing, or if you want to follow along, feel free to create a position of your own, set it to a sell price at 2%, wait for your watch to ding. All right, then let's go make some money.